Hey gamers, welcome to the Life as an Autistic Person podcast. This is episode 15 titled The Dating World, and I want to talk about, my dating experiences along with other autistic people's dating experiences because man, it's really rough out there for us. And people in general, dating is hard, so I just want to talk about it. So, yeah, let's just get right into it, shall we? Now, I have had a decent bit of dating experience recently. Nothing good, but I have some sort of experience and I want to share it. But basically, the whole point of this video is I want to share how hard it is for us autistic people to find someone that we can connect to, which you would think it wouldn't be that hard because we have a lot of specific interests, in things that could be something like as stereotypical as trains or video games or movies. You hyperfixate on something, so you think you would be able to connect easily with other people that share similar things, and that technically can work. But the problem that comes in is, of course, the many other things that comes with autism, being the not being able to interpret social cues, all that sort of stuff, and it's just really hard for us. And again, people in general, dating is rough out there for people, like many people. You hear this a lot about how a lot of communities on mostly guys where they complain about girls, about like, oh, the men loneliness epidemic, which is a real thing. But then you see something like, guys becoming like black pill or red pill. I don't even know exactly what's the difference between all the pill types or whatever, but I know one of them is like you like discount like all women or whatever, say they're all bad, they're all in it for the money or whatever. Like you see these stuff happen, and a lot of these people are filled like with normal neurotypical people, but of course autistic people can fall into these situations as well, and more so because it's like 10 times harder for us to find someone, and it's already hard for the modern dating world for someone to find someone, especially a guy, which, it's a little bit easier for women to find someone, but they come with different challenges, which I'll talk about in a bit. But, let's go back to the reason why a lot of autistic people struggle with finding like a relationship. Well, again, it's the social cue stuff. We don't know how to interpret things, exactly. I've talked about some of this stuff in other podcast episodes and other videos in general on the channel. But I really wanted to like dive in deep into the dating world, because again, I have more experience with it, and it's just so sad to see, because I don't know how to explain it. But basically, if an autistic person goes on a date, there's so many factors you have to pay attention to. One, of course, the environment stuff. Is it like too loud or too bright in the actual area? And two, the person you're interacting with. A lot of dating has a lot of unspoken rules, which is really dumb. Like, the stuff like, oh, when is the right time to kiss someone? When is the right time to hug them, or when is the right time to, do something with them, like sex, basically. Like there's a lot of these stuff that is kind of unknown, that you kind of have to like guess, and you have to have like good, like pay attention to what they want or whatever. But many autistic people, it's hard for us to read social cues, and we can misinterpret those things. Maybe it seems like, oh, a girl wants us to kiss her, and we do that, and then nope, that's not what it is. So that's like a big problem with dating with autism. But there's another problem which I have come to learn recently, and I'll talk about my experiences in a bit. But basically, it's the fact that many autistic people, we are basically starved on interaction with others. We don't have many friends, many of us. We don't interact with people besides our family. We've been discriminated against because of our disability, or like many things. So there comes a time where a decent amount of autistic people that try dating might get too attached too quickly, and because of that, that can lead to problems. And that's kind of what happened with me, which I'll talk about. So I recently I went on 2 dates with a girl, which I talked about in other videos if you were curious. Her name was Maya. Things were going really well with her. I had my first ever date with her. And things, things were going pretty good. That first date was like 4 hours, and we talked like constantly for like 3 weeks. We missed like a day or two. The second day was 5 hours. Like, it was overall a great time, you know. But I started to get a little bit too attached to her really quickly. Even after the first date, I was like, I told her the second time I talked to her, which was the day after our first date, like, oh, are you talking with other people, because I decided I'm going to be not on the dating apps anymore, at least pausing my profile on Hinge. That's where we met. And she said that she is, but she likes me the most, probably, and eventually she decided to stop using the dating apps as well. And I think she kind of got a little bit attached to relatively quickly, but like, immediately I was like, oh my god, she's like amazing, and I started to like talk to her, like try to talk to her constantly, and that eventually kind of drove her away. Where we were gonna have our third date, she didn't even cancel the third date. I was ready. We would dress up for the dates, and eat food, and I was ready. We had it scheduled for Friday at like 8 p.m., and I was ready to go. And she's like, oh, I don't want to do it. It's like overwhelming, this thing is going too fast and all this sort of stuff. And I kind of, we were going really fast in the relationship, but it felt right. It did feel right. And I was trying to be accommodating with her, like I even asked her like midway through when we were talking, like, oh, are we actually going too fast? I was trying to be, like, cause I was thinking, we were going fast, but it felt right at the same time. So I was like, I told her, maybe we are going too fast. What do you think? And she said we weren't. But she eventually changed her mind, about it. And it just led to a downward spiral where we eventually stopped talking. Like, we were like video chatting on Instagram like daily, and then we stopped doing that. We started talking less and less via text. Eventually, she started talking to another guy very casually, and then I stopped talking with her for like a week or two. And then when I talked to her again, she told me that she got a boyfriend, and she blocked me. So it was a whole thing where that I talked about this in like different videos, where I think we both messed up. She kind of kept changing her mind and kept changing what she wanted. She was also thinking about maybe being polyamorous or whatever, which she didn't tell me right away. She just said she wanted to be in an exclusive relationship until like in the middle of when we were talking, like in the second week or whatever, which was kind of like a bombshell for me because that's not what I signed up for. And again, also going too fast when before she said she didn't, she did mess up quite a bit, and it bugs me, but I also messed up. Clearly, I did. I think we're both at fault. We were both at fault. And, it sucks, because I was trying my best to make this an actual relationship with her because she was so cool. Like, we had a lot in common. She might have also been autistic as well, which I do want to talk about in a bit, how girls with autism can be affected, but in a different way compared to guys with autism in terms of the dating world. But yeah, I thought things were going so well, and they were, but I messed them up, and she did too, by being like getting too attached, and because of that I've talked with like two other girls, to a more major degree since her, but I've just it hasn't been going well because I basically don't want to make the same mistake I did with Maya, where I was like getting too attached and trying to interact with her constantly. Because there was this other girl whose name also starts with an M that I got a phone number from with Match. That's the dating app I used, and we were talking for like a week, and we were just texting, but she's like busy with like something to do with like her job is at a hospital or whatever, and I have not talked to her, like I had not texted her since last Tuesday, and it is Thursday right now. So, like the week before plus 2 days, I have not talked to her since then. And that's because, like, I'm like worried that if I talk to her too much, she'll be like, done with me. And then there was this other girl that I have been talking to on OK Cupid, which I haven't talked to in like 2 days. I'm gonna message her later today. Uh, but things were going kind of good, for like 3 days that we were talking, like texting. I asked her out on like a date. I also asked out the other girl on like a date, like a virtual date, because I do think virtual dates are cool and they are very important because it's way better than text. Of course, it's lesser than in person, but in some cases, you can't do in person dates either because the person lives in a different place or time constraints. It's just more easier to do, virtual dates. So I suggested that with both girls. The first girl, the one that was at the hospital, couldn't because she's busy. She actually has like a job thing. The other girl was like, oh, and this other girl has like two jobs too, but like she goes between them at different days. And she told me that, maybe we should talk more before we have like a virtual date, which is kind of annoying, but okay. And I've been like, it's been weird because I've also asked her if maybe we should move on to a different like app like Instagram, or just straight up texting, like on a phone number, like moving somewhere besides the OK Cupid, which is where we've been messaging. And she's like kind of avoided the answer for me, or hasn't replied. I just feel like it's just so awkward to like how to handle these situations, as a guy, because you don't know, especially with text, you don't know exactly how they will respond. Many of us autistic people, try to plan out in our heads what's likely to happen, but sometimes it doesn't go according to plan because life is, pretty random. Like, I'm trying my best to keep constant communication, but I get paranoid that maybe I'm going too far, like it did last time with Maya. Or, when I ask for something, it could go horribly, because there have been other girls where I talked with for like a little bit, and I asked for a date, or I asked for something and then they unmatched me or whatever. So I just kind of have trouble with that, But let's talk about the other perspective, the women's perspective, because women have their own separate issues that I totally understand, especially that if they are autistic, which I think Maya was. We talked about it. She thinks she was autistic, but she just wasn't diagnosed. So one of the things I see with women, and also I want to talk about another thing when it involves like dating other autistic people, but women, that's the thing we should talk about first. Um, the problems that come with them and dating is different, but it's still serious, And I clearly don't have a clear grasp of it because I'm a guy, and I am in my own world a lot of the time, overthinking things. But women with autism do this as well. They overthink. Sometimes they can get overwhelmed, overstimulated, of course, with the attention. I'm pretty sure that's what happened with Maya. She got overstimulated with my attention. So that's the whole thing. And overstimulation. It's a main thing with autism, along with being like kind of deprived of affection. With other autistic people. Others might be overstimulated by the affection, just like they're overstimulated with other things, like bright lights or whatever. So I think that's like a main thing that like happened with Maya, and that can happen with other girls. Maybe they get overstimulated, and that's why when they're getting attention, they might unmatch, or they might like try to change the direction of like, oh, we're not gonna do a date or whatever, because they don't know how to handle it, because it's overwhelming. That's a clear big problem for women that they have, because it is more proven that women do get more affection over guys, more attention over guys. It's just a simple fact. The way we handle it is different, and it's not to say that there are women that are like struggle with getting relationships as well because of those things, and also with the fact that they don't know if the guy, and this is like another thing where like we don't know how to read attentions. Women that have autism can also have this too, where they don't know if a guy is interested in them because of their body or their personality or what, so it just gets them confused, so it's just a whole different thing. And again, I wish I could speak more about women's perspective on this, but I'm not a woman. So yeah, but at least from what I understand, it is equal problems, but it is different problems. Now let's talk about the idea of dating another autistic person, because I see solutions, quote unquote solutions, for like places like Reddit, where people talk about how dating as an autistic person is a nightmare, which it is, but I see some people say, oh, just date another autistic person or date another neurotypical person, and that can be more better because they have a better idea of what you're struggling with, but there's still problems that can come around. Especially, again, I mentioned with me and Maya, who I think was autistic. There was problems there where she got overstimulated. Probably, I should probably say probably. I talked with her about it, and she seemed like she was autistic. Like she was pretty darn sure. So I'm not just like diagnosing someone that I'm not talking to anymore. We talked about it, There's a difference between diagnosing someone, and actually talking with them and them themselves believing they're autistic or whatever, So anyway, just wanted to clear that up in case there was any confusion. But anyway, she got overstimulated. I was over affectionate. And that's what happened with some other people, that tried dating other autistic people, because autism is, of course, a spectrum, different things for different people. That's just life in general, but especially autistic people, so we might show affection too much to some people and they might really like that, but for other people they might not, and you see this as a case for other people, neurotypical people as well. I've been on the dating apps, I've been trying to swipe right or whatever, get matches, liking girls on them, and some of the people I see, they really do like being like affectionate, like they want all the attention, and I'm just like trying to give like a perspective, like yeah, it's just different for different people, especially for different autistic people. Now I should say that I have tried dabbling with dating before now. Again, my first ever date was only more recently, like a few months ago, and I was 20 years old. I've technically, never had a girlfriend, although I'll get to that in a bit. So this is all new to me, but I have tried, before. So, like, for example, in 5th grade, I asked a girl that was my friend, and then I started to like her. I told the story before where I told a kid to, like, hand her a note or whatever while I went to the bathroom or something. I asked her out to be my girlfriend, and I think I even asked for like a date, but nothing ever came of it. We were kind of a couple, she apparently said yes, as from what the guy told me, but I did nothing with that information. Then at the end of the school year, I actually did try to ask her out, like, properly, and she's like, oh, my mom won't let me date or whatever, and I still did it with the guy that helped me the first time. Like, I made him come along with me, like, oh, come along with me with the butterflies and bees. Okay, sorry, sidetracked. I try not to get sidetracked with these podcast episodes, though. There was one time where I did, and I went on a whole tangent about how long these podcast episodes should be. Anyway, going back to my main point. Sorry, but yeah, I tried that. I got him to help me, and it still didn't work. Luckily, the neighbor lives like right next to me. Like, we're right next door neighbors, basically, and we still live near each other. Fun fact. But anyway, I put a note near her door, and apparently the mom found it, and she was very curious to meet me, but nothing came of it. Again, like, it was just a whole thing where nothing came of it. I tried and it didn't work. And then there was, of course, Clarissa, who was a Jehovah's Witness I mentioned before in other podcast episodes, other videos. She couldn't date me. I tried asking her out. It did not work out well because, again, she couldn't date, but she did end up liking me. And then we did kind of have dates, and there were like times where we were like a couple. One was where there was like a school lock-in thing, where me and her and also some of her friends were hanging out, but then we split apart from them and did our own thing together. Like they had a Wii there on the school, along with many other activities you could do in the school. This was like, after the school ended, where you could pay to stay after school to do some fun stuff. And there was another time at an amusement park for like a school field trip where we were hanging out with her friends, but we also split apart for a bit and we went on a roller coaster and it was a good time. And I consider those dates basically, you know. And the problem I had with like dates like that is just the fact that, one, they don't technically count because once you couldn't date, or I tried to get dates and it didn't work, and even if you do like it's just a whole thing where even if you do succeed in getting a date, and things do work out well, it doesn't mean it's going to work out well forever, and it does makes it makes many autistic people, including myself, to be honest, it makes us sad sometimes when it feels like we found someone that we really cared about and really connected with, but there's a problem that comes out, with Clarissa, Jehovah Witness, we couldn't really do anything, and eventually we fell off because another guy started taking interest in her, and we kind of had a fight about it, even though I couldn't do anything with her, and then of course with Maya, got overly affectionate, even though it seemed we were good on paper, it's just things that, like, oh my god, I don't know how to describe it, man, but it just feels sad sometimes, especially if you're an autistic person that struggles with social things in general. Dating is 10 times worse for us, and you want to be cared for. I think everyone wants to be cared for and loved by someone. Some people give up on it, and it's really sad. Sometimes I do feel like giving up as well. I have had times where I'm like, maybe I should give up on these dating apps. Maybe I should just delete all of them and then just focus on YouTube again. And I have been trying to focus on YouTube as well as doing the dating apps, but it's kind of getting overwhelming. I also watch older live streams to feel comforted, because looking back in the past is really nice. Remember what was, because the future and trying to fix something or trying to improve something in the future, it's just really hard. So basically my point being, I've thought about deleting these dating apps, but I really should keep going because I know eventually there will be someone out there for me, and there will be someone out there for you too, guys. If you're feeling like this as well, you're feeling down on your luck, you're not going to get a relationship, you're lonely or whatever. I have been there. I still feel like that, a lot of the time, but you really are not alone, and you will find someone that really does value you. You'll find someone that maybe is as affectionate as you, or receives affection at the same amount as you give it. Maybe that'll be the case with me, where I gave too much affection, someone will accept it and will be happy. It just kind of depends on when, but I do think it will happen for me and everyone else. But a lot of people just give up. I see, with the, again, red pill, black pill, I don't even know the difference or whatever, blue pill, so many pills, but the communities there where they give up on women or they give up on dating or whatever, I think partly it depends on how they view it. There's a community where they want to just focus on themselves, which I think is good, but then there's also a negative version of that community where they just hate all women. They're basically misogynist or whatever, and they don't want to care anymore or fall in love or whatever. I don't think that's the right way to go about it. I think you should focus on yourself, yes, but you should keep putting yourself out there because there's still hope for you. You shouldn't be, giving up. You should keep trying even though it's hard, and I'm saying this from someone that has experience and is still dealing with this myself. Does that make any sense to you guys? I don't know. But yeah, honestly, I think that's going to be it for this podcast episode. And I didn't even talk about all the stuff with dating, because there's different factors that play into it. The severity of your autism, stuff like your personality, your looks, and of course gender, which we talked about. It can be different between guys and girls, for me, I am somewhat attractive. I have gotten quite a bit of matches on places like Facebook dating, and Bumble, Tinder. And, I was told by Maya that I was pretty handsome, and, so I don't have like a problem really like seeing women like look at me. I've also seen them look at me in like Walmart, like they think I look attractive. I've seen like two women where I could clearly tell that they were interested in me, but I did nothing with that information, or if I did, I just mess up usually. That's a whole thing because of my overthinking. And this probably is due to the fact that I have level 2 autism, which means I need more help compared to other people that are autistic. So yeah, I didn't even talk about all the specifics there, but it is a big factor, and it's just really hard for guys especially, but everyone that is autistic, it's hard, so I hope if you're struggling like I am, you find your person. I hope I find my person too. We just gotta be patient. It's gonna take time, but we will find them. I'm sure, But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, play some Xenoblade, and I'll catch you all next time for another podcast episode. Eventually, I don't know when, but I'll try to make it soon, I promise. Peace for everyone.